Happy Tuesday, all you minties. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And welcome to your advanced overview of all of these trades, Epic Collections, and Treasury editions coming out this week from Marvel Comics. So, join me. Before getting started, I want to give a huge thank you to David Gabriel and all the folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these books coming out this week. All of these books are due out on February 21st or 22nd, depending on where you get your books. So as I mentioned in the intro, yes, there is a new beautiful Treasury edition, a new Epic collection, some trades, some big trades of the events that have happened recently. So in the description of the video is where I always put timestamps, and in case you don't want to be spoiled or you just want to jump ahead for a particular book. But yeah, just look down there. And down there is also where you're going to find a link to our Patreon. And thank you so much to our existing patrons. Could not be making videos like this possible without you all. So today we're going to be kicking it off with that Trials of X trade paperback. We are kicking off the week with Trials of X, Volume 5. This is the latest in the anthology of what started with Dawn of X, became Reign of X, and now we're at Trials of X. Maybe we'll have a Dawn of X, and I don't know what the next era is going to be called. I think Fall of X, maybe? Alright, so here we have Trials of X Volume 5. This time around, collecting X-Men The Onslaught Revelation, X-Men, the 2021 series, number 3, Excalibur, number 23, X-Corp 3 through 4. So wrapping up that particular series. This book has 152 pages. So this is why I tell people, just in case you don't want any kind of spoilers or anything, go ahead and jump ahead to the next video, or not next video, the next book I'm going to be talking about, which in this case is the Marvel Snapshots. So this book collects Onslaught Revelation, and there's nothing I can do about the name and the title. Is it the original Onslaught? What exactly is happening in these pages? I will say that this is really the wrap-up issue for that Way of X miniseries that Cy Spurrier was working on. This is where a lot of those stories end up wrapping up. And yes, it does feature the, a entity known as Onslaught. Is it the original? One way for you to find out. I don't want to spoil it, but it's nice to see a lot of the characters coming back in this. Especially, I never thought I would say this, but it was nice to see the characters of, let me see if I can find a picture of both of them. Both Zorns coming back to this particular book. Yeah, both the Zorns. So, if you read Grant Morrison's run, and what they did over on New X-Men, you know the character of Zorn, but did you know there were two of them? Well, you can thank Chuck Austin for that. And I don't know why I'm excited about that. I don't know, I kind of, a little bit of a retcon, but I did like it. This is issue number 3 of X-Men right here, with beautiful artwork by Pepe Larraz. Now, one thing I think when I read the trade paperback of X-Men, and no word, by the way, if there's going to be an oversized hardcover collection of that yet. I'm sure one day there will be. One thing I noticed is that Pepe Larraz comes from this era where we have artists that draw very similar, like Stuart Eminem, I can think of as one of the earliest ones with this kind of cartoony art style. Not really simplistic, but dynamic art style. You also have R.B. Silva and Mahmoud Asrar and Paco. Well, Paco Medina is a little more cartoony than this. But I think for me, Pepe Larraz just kills it. Like, I think Stuart Eminem, of course, started this amalgam style of anime, Western cartoons, and Western comics as well as European comics, and just made this beautiful type of art. But I think Pepe Larraz has just become my favorite. I really like his panel layouts. I really like how much action he can put into just a simple panel. And this is here issue of 23 of Excalibur. Of course, this series is about to wrap up, and this is the one where Doctor Doom wants to go to Avalon. And then we wrap up this anthology with the 2 last parts of the X-Corp. So if you're all about business, this is for you. So this is all about how they reach some quotas. I think that's what this... I've only read this once. This one's written by... Oh, it's Teenie Howard. I really thought it wasn't Teenie Howard, because I know Teenie Howard was working on Excalibur. For some reason I thought it was Vida Ayala. Yes, but that is X-Corp all the way in the back. Is where you're going to find the variant covers. including this gorgeous variant cover and the back by Russell Dodderman. I love that trading card. That was the X-Men Series 1 trading cards, all of them drawn by Jim Lee, and I love that they even kept the frame and then the back here. It makes it so hard not to try to get variant covers just looking at some. Oh, that is nice by David Lopez. $19.99, and again, collecting those issues of X-Men Onslaught, Revelation, and X-Men Excalibur and X-Corp. 152 pages. Avengers Forever, Volume 2, The Pillars. Now, this is not to be confused with the Avengers Forever book by Carlos Pacheco and Kurt Busiek, but this is the Jason Aaron titles that feature the multiverse versions of a lot of these heroes, with a few exceptions. Ghost Rider being one of them, and Deathlock. Now, this is Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. So, what they're doing is building a team of Avengers to go up against a team of multiverse Masters of Evil. So, they're building a team of multiverse Avengers, and they're going to fight off against Doctor Doom and his Masters of Evil that have been gathering forces from across the multiverse. So they're trying to win or beat them at their own game, which I love. So we have this Vibranium man right here that lives in Wakanda, and he is named T'Challa. He's up against this new king of Wakanda, King Killmonger, who has the Destroyer's armor to help him along the way. So it's ideas like that, and then every once in a while you'll see the characters of Robbie Reyes and the character of Deathlock make an appearance through here. Then we meet the character of Steve Rogers, where he's being held in a prison with a bunch of other Steve Rogers, or people named Steve, or like the doggy named Stevie. Now, they need to break out of here. They don't know what brought them here and why they're all named Steve. And that is a big secret. So that's Steve Rogers. Then we meet this particular version of Thor from this particular Earth, who's kind of down on his luck. So this is that Earth's version of Thor who cannot pick up the hammer, who isn't worthy of being Thor. And he is being asked by, well, I forgot about Ant-Man being part of that too. Now, it's not 616 Ant-Man, but it is Tony Stark Ant-Man from another universe. Then we meet Carol Danvers from this particular universe and the Captain Marvel Corps. And then we see the Tony Stark character here of this particular Earth, and how these forces are coming together to go and stop the characters of the Masters of Evil right here. And of course, the Masters of Evil have a lot of amalgams, like you have the Green Skull Goblin here, and it's one of these stories like Heroes Reborn, the story that he did in Heroes Reborn, where you see familiar characters in different ways. The Infinity Comics are also collected here, the Avengers Forever Infinity Comics. So this collects Avengers Forever 6 through 11, and then Avengers Forever Infinity Comic 1 through 4. This book has 176 pages and retails for $24.99. All the way in the back is where you're going to find the extras right here. So, character designs also back here, including the different Thor that you're going to see back here. And the Vibranium Man. And this is the this is the latest volume of Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers, and then Avengers Forever. Now, all of this will lead into the Avengers Assemble book that he's working on. No trade of that yet. Marvel's Snapshots. Now, this has been released in oversized hardcover. And that, oh my gosh, I think that one came out in 2019, 2020. This serves as a follow-up to the Marvels book. Now, we've seen other follow-ups by both Alex Ross and by Kurt Busiek. But this project, I thought, was so endearing. This is such an awesome project. What he does is he gathers a team of creators. You have different writers and artists, so you're not going to see Alex Ross doing internal artwork. You're not going to see Kurt Busiek doing any internal writing. But he gathers a perfect team for some of these books to tell stories of the citizens that were around the same time that these stories were being written and told. Of course, a lot of them coming from the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby era. And here's a wonderful introduction. This, like I said, has been released in oversized hardcover before. And I thought this was such an excellent read. This book retails for $24.99 and has 264 pages. And we kick it off with Submariner Reunion, and I thought this story was so beautiful. Okay, so this collects Submariner Marvel Snapshots #1, Fantastic Four Marvel Snapshots, Captain America, X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, Civil War, and Captain Marvel Snapshots. They're all one-shots. So in here, we see a character of Betty Dean. Now, Betty was, of course, Namor's girlfriend that kind of helped him to make up his mind to go and help the Allies to go and fight off against the enemy. So she played a big part in the Golden Age. She's a character from the Golden Age. And I thought this story was so sweet because he comes back home after the war. And this particular time now, the war is over. America's Marvels invade Berlin. So she's able to see what Namor and all of the invaders have been up to through newspapers. She has a younger brother who also was in the war and lost his leg. So she knows exactly what a lot of the vets coming back home are going to be like. Now, she sees Namor out, and they go out on a date. Of course, his life is changed a little bit. And the artwork in here, by the way, is done by Jerry Ordway, who loves this particular era of superheroes, whether it's Marvel or DC. So, yes, Namor's fight is not over. And then we see a reunion with the invaders. There's a really sweet ending in here. I just thought it was such a cute story, very wholesome. And the same thing with the second story. This takes place a little bit after the first story, and it features the character of Human Torch. But mainly, this young lady right here. This is Dory Evans, which is an ex-girlfriend of the Human Torch. And, you know, now she's got kids, so she's a little bit older, and she wants to reunite with Johnny. And I thought this story was just as good as the first one, you know, focusing on our side of things as just citizens of the world and how we are reacting to superheroes. And it's not all glamour, right? It's not all good. We have a story in here set during Jack Kirby's Mad Bomb story. And this one was so good. This is, I believe, the Cyclops story. Yeah, this is Cyclops reacting when he was a young kid, reacting to how the world is turning before his very eyes, how we're introducing superheroes to the world. So that is a young Scott Summers. There's a story with Howard Chaykin's artwork that features the character of Spider-Man. There's a story of Iron Man back here. And we go all the way, I mean, almost to modern time with Civil War. So it's not just set like during the age of the Marvels, but set during different parts of the Marvel Universe. So much so that we have a modern story here of Captain Marvel. This one's written by Mark Waid. So it is a really awesome project, and I wish they'd continue these. We'll be looking at the extras back here, including variant covers, because the main covers are all provided by Alex Ross, who, like I said, doesn't do internal artwork, but he does provide the covers. And there's a piece by George Paredes. I believe these are, what do they call it? Hidden gem covers, maybe? They're just going back and recoloring some of this original artwork. Yeah, because you have some Dave Cockrum art right there, Larry Lieber. And that's one by Steve McNiven from Civil War. But that is Marvel Snapshots. Now we have the latest Marvel event. This is A.X.E, Judgment Day. So Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. This is one that I finally got to read a couple of weeks ago because a lot of the current trade paperbacks, I've kind of been spoiling some of the points from here that I was just done with spoilers. And it's just the way the books come out. It's nobody's fault. I could have very easily just used Marvel Unlimited and read them digitally, but I was waiting for the trade paperback, so I just went ahead and read it a couple of weeks ago. So this is the latest crossover. Now, if you don't want to know anything about this, please, by all means, skip ahead, but also skip the companion overview, because I think this actually spoils things about this. So, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you how to read it. There's a story that's found in the companion that fits between issues 5 and 6 of Judgment Day. Also in between issues 5 and 6 of Judgment Day are where you're going to see a series of one-shots in here. But I will be honest and say that that's what you need to read from here after reading issue 5. Read the Eve of Judgment from this companion. If you're going to pick up the companion, you want to have the full story, definitely what I recommend as far as reading order. And then go back to this. No word of an omnibus or anything, and to see if it's going to be mapped properly or not. I don't know if there will be one. I'm hoping that new modern releases keep coming out, like we've had King in Black or Empire. So I hope we keep coming out with more and more event omnis. So all of this written by Kieran Gillen, who is the main writer, of course, on X-Men right now, Immortal X-Men. And then collecting the A.X.E Judgment Day 1 through 6, A.X.E Avengers, A.X.E X-Men, A.X.E Eternals, and then the Free Comic Book Day 2022, Avengers X-Men, the A.X.E story. And you have different artists. Valerio Schiti doing most of the artwork in Judgment Day, with Ivan Fiorelli, and then Marte Gracia doing the colors there. Dustin Weaver, Francesco Mobili, and Pasquale Ferri, just some of the artists that are working with Kieran Gillen on the one-shots. Here are your lineup of characters. As you can see, the X-Men are just huge during this time. And for some reason, the Avengers are very small, probably because they're dealing with their own things. Like, we just looked at the Avengers Forever storyline. The most important thing I will say to read before any of this are these two books. These are Eternals, Only Death is Eternal, and Hail Thanos. Thanos. No, let's just call him what the movie calls him. Alright, but this is what you need to read before reading Judgment Day. And I say that because, yes, the Avengers are in here. Yes, the X-Men are in here. And both of them have a new status quo. You know, the Avengers are on Krakoa. But I think reading what's happened to the Eternals recently will really help out, because a lot of them look different than what you imagine them looking like before, or what you've read about them before. A lot of that took place during that run. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. I just put the books up. A lot of that took place during the Kieran Gillen's run on Eternals. By the way, if you've not read it, you need to do yourself a favor. It is so good. I really enjoyed it. And I'm not the biggest fan of Eternals, whether it's Jack Kirby, not even Neil Gaiman could get me to enjoy Eternals for some reason. But that run, solid. Now, he is a little bit wordy. I do tell people that about Gillen, but I like that. I like his style of writing. It's a little romanticized at times. I say wordy, and then there's just this huge splash page or spread page right here. So, to kind of give you a premise without going deep into spoilers, the Eternals have found out about the X-Men. And there's a huge little prelude to this in this Free Comic Book Day. About 1 million years ago, the Eternals of Druig and Uranus came to Earth and talked to Odin, who was telling them, like, look, why don't you leave these evolved monkeys alone? And he's like, look, they're evolved monkeys now, but later on, that's going to cause some issues, so we're just going to wipe them clean. And Odin's like, yeah, all right, man, you do what you need to. If that's going to keep the peace, you wipe them out. So 1 million years later, that idea comes back when the Eternals find out that the X-Men, or people living in Krakoa, mutant kind living in Krakoa, have developed the ability of coming back from the dead. It's always been a joke in comics, but if you've been reading the era of X-Men, that they can come back from the dead, I'm not going to go into spoilers as to how, but it definitely involves 5 very important people. So when the Eternals find out, some of them, Druig, are being told by a anonymous source, they have decided to go and wipe out the X-Men because they think that's going to set off this unbalance in the world. And that's what this crossover is. Some of the Avengers are like, hey, you can't do that. We got to go inside with the X-Men. Some of the Eternals are like, hey, you totally can't do that. We are going to be on the X-Men and Avengers side. This is complete travesty what you're doing. You're going to put us at odds with these people. You can't just wipe away mutant kind. Now, something big happens because if you've been reading the pages of Avengers, they've been living inside of a dead Celestial. Now, the Celestial is pretty important. And if the Celestial were to wake up, that could impact the entire world. And we have to decide how we find ourselves worthy of living. And that's all I will say. This is beautiful artwork by Valerio Schiti, who also has that style like R.B. Silva and Pepe Larraz that I was just talking about. And then the 3 issues are all the way in the back before issue number 6. So those are mapped properly. Those Avengers, X-Men, and then Eternals. All the way in the back, it's It's where you're going to find some thumbnail covers, thumbnail size covers, variant covers at that. Main covers are in between the chapters here. And then some sketchbook designs and connecting covers. Now, this book has 240 pages and retails for $34.99. However, if you want to read everything, now this is, of course, for the people that have to read everything, but even if you're getting this, you're not going to be getting everything because there are crossovers with the Immortal X-Men, X-Men Red, there's a couple of, I think one issue of Avengers, but you get the idea. Now, as I've already said, what you need to do is read Judgment Day 1 through 5, and then you can come back here to read Eve of Judgment, and then Death to the Mutants, the 3-issue miniseries, and then Star Fox. But do not read Judgment Day Omega 1. So to play it safe, you almost want to read that whole event and then come back here, because this will spoil, especially the Omega issue, what ends up happening through those pages. So don't come to this first, even though it's called Eve of Judgment. It doesn't set up really the event of Judgment Day. So in here is where you're going to find all those one-shots and mini-series. Star Fox, I feel like it's really important to read because the character of Star Fox is a lot different than the character has appeared in a long time. And that is found in the Star Fox one-shot here. Now, he is different, and I think finally a little bit of a redeemable character. I was not a fan of what Dan Slott did to the character of Star Fox in the pages of She-Hulk. To put it lightly, he made him a creep. And a lot of people signed off on Star Fox, and he'd never really been written that way. Flirtatious, yes, but full-blown creep using his powers, I did not agree with. So this, he has a little bit of a redemption arc in here. Again, he is different than he has been in the past. Whether you're familiar with him in Avengers or in the Cosmic Saga, he is a lot different than he has been written in the past. And he looks a lot different than he has been written in the past. And a lot of that has to do with the Eternals when they're reborn. And that, again, happens in the pages of Eternals, volumes 1 and 2, if you want to follow that adventure. I'm not going to show anything from Omega in here, just because it spoils quite a bit. But I did want to showcase some of the art back here. And back here is where you're also going to find Iron Fist. So it does contain the Judgment Day Iron Fist, as well as Judgment Day Star Fox. And then Fantastic Four, 47 and 48 are in here. And this is how, it's pretty much a story of Sue Storm. And how she's, Obelix comes back here. Midas, character created in Grant Morrison's Marvel Boy. Now, all the way in the back are a series of variant covers. Some of them are splash pages, some of them are thumbnail pages. And there you go. This one has 224 pages, retails for $34.99. You have arrived at that point of the video where I show off the spines of the books. And also like to remind people to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. It goes a long way for us here on the channel, and it is a very small thing you can do to help us out. Alright, let's continue this journey. Namor, the Submariner Epic Collection Who Strikes for Atlantis. And I believe this is issue 25. I covered issue number 25. Here's the back of the book. 1968 to 1970. Collecting Submariner 4 through 27. There's quite a bit of Submariner here compared to Volume 1. So this is only the second Epic Collection with Namor. But we're already skipping because we don't have a Volume 2 yet. And I was a little confused when reading this because I completely forgot we don't have a Volume 2. So when a character appears here, I was like, what the hell are they talking about? That character hasn't appeared before, right? Am I missing something? So I had to go back on my shelf and look at this, and I was like, oh, they haven't done a Volume 2 yet. So we are skipping to Volume 3. And it doesn't collect the rest of the Tales to Astonish issues that they're talking about in here. So whereas the first volume kind of gives you a crash course into what makes Namor tick, what kind of character he is, how bold he is, how brass he is, and how different he is than the rest of the Marvel Universe, how arrogant he can be. This one here changes things a little bit. And it changes things, I think, for the better. I really enjoyed this. And of course, a lot of that has to do with the creators. You have, of course, Roy Thomas, Big John Buscema doing a lot of the artwork in here. And again, this one collecting issues 4 through 27 of Submariner. So Submariner was a series in the late 60s, early 70s, and it went on 75 issues, so I assume they're going to complete it all in its entirety and then collect a little bit more after that. I don't know how far they'll go. With modern epics, it gets a little bit confusing, so maybe they'll go all the way through John Byrne's era of Namor. That would be cool. So we kick it off with a story about the Atlanteans, and they're still trying to search for a home. And of course, they're attacked by Atuma and all of his barbarian horde. And it pretty much has this big battle between Atuma and Namor. And his barbarian horde ends up looking at the fight and how Atuma is not really a person of honor. So they kind of leave him. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of this has to do with this whole epic. Lady Dorma, like, thinking how often she dies here. There's, like, 3 times that I can think of that I'm like, oh, did they just kill her off? And I feel like Namor even says that. He believes she's dead twice, at least. And he actually, as a matter of fact, at the ending of this very issue, Namor thinks that she's dead and ends up leaving Atlantis to continue his search for Destiny, which is the villain. Then we get the introduction of Tiger Shark. And this is his first appearance. This is where Tiger Shark first appears. And it's a big battle. And Tiger Shark keeps coming back. Like, he is a big nemesis force. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure why they didn't use Tiger Shark through here. He was an Olympian swimmer. He gets turned into this, well, villain, non-villain at first. His sister is all worried about him. And him and Namor have huge fights that lead him underwater. There's Lady Dorma again. So she's back, and Namor's like, oh, everything is fine. So this keeps going back between Atlantis, and we see a little bit more of the surface world too. There is a really sweet issue in here. Can't go too much into details about, but it does feature the Thing. And if you've never read this is the one that hit me. So he's fighting the Thing, because of course there's always misunderstandings. He's coming here to talk about pollution and how it's destroying the water, which has always been a thing with Namor the Submariner, no matter whose version you're reading. So he dukes it out with the Thing, and somebody stops it. And the way they stop it, I thought, who the heck? Oh, that last page hit me right in the feels, man. I was like, oh, that's so sweet, and it actually makes sense. There's a lot more fighting, and oh, this is where you actually get the Serpent Crown, and you get to find out about the Serpent Crown. There's a lot of stories about the Serpent Crown and what it is, and the power and the origins of it. Gene Colan comes back to draw some issues, so you get the origin of Naga. And it's about, I think, 4 issues before that particular storyline gets wrapped up. So a lot of this drawn by Roy Thomas, Mary Severin doing a lot of the art. Roy Thomas, I'm sorry. Big John Buscema, Roy Thomas writing it. Mary Severin doing some artwork as well as John Buscema. His brother, our pal Sal, comes in and draws a couple of issues. And like I mentioned, Gene Colan drawing some. There's the fight here with Dragon Man. And this is with the sister. Well, what's her last name? Arliss, Tiger Shark's sister. And there is a lot of Tiger Shark in here. Eventually, he gets taken over, or he gets taken by the Stalker, this character right here, who manipulates or changes his gills, the structure of his gills, where he can't breathe underwater and he can't fly anymore. So he's kind of been thrown into the surface world. So he's in the surface world to stay. This is the issue I was talking about. So in this issue, we get the introduction of Stingray. Awesome. However, the man behind the mask, Dr. Newell, Wendell Warren, I can't remember. He appeared earlier on, but before that, he had appeared in issues of Tales to Astonish. So those, I believe, will be collected in Volume 2. So I was a little taken back by that. That's when I went back to get this or look at my shelves, because I thought there was a Volume 2, and there isn't. But this is where you get the character of Stingray. This is really cool, because all these faces just look so different. Some of them are breaking the fourth wall. So I want to say some of these people actually worked at Marvel, especially some right here. And I can't tell who they are. But yes, he's been exiled to the surface world because he can't breathe, and Stingray's costume is yellow and red, not white and red. So he ends up going to Latveria to try to seek some kind of refugee shelter. And of course, Doctor Doom's like, well, we should team up again to be villains. And he's like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. So there's a big fight with Doom in here. A lot of classic stories. Dorma's taking over Atlantis. She wants to get Namor back. And that's a really awesome story because she wants to claim more on the surface world for keeping Namor. And meanwhile, Namor's being chased out by a bunch of military. Now, there's a story here with Doctor Strange. So not a Defender story, but it's a nice Doctor Strange team up. And by now, somehow, miraculously, he's able to get his powers back. We have the first appearance of Orca. So this has the first appearance of Stingray, Orca, and Tiger Shark. And there's an awesome fight between Tiger Shark and Orca here, with, again, some beautiful artwork. I'm kind of glad they jumped ahead a little bit, because while some people would think, why am I glad about that? Why shouldn't they do a volume 2? This reminds me of collecting comics. Having those issues in between this and volume 3 just makes me really excited for what's to come whenever we get a volume 2. And it's like filling in those gaps when I was a kid of back issues, going to the comic book store, going to shows, or going to flea markets or yard sales and finding back issues. I don't know, it kind of gives me that feeling. Oh, then we have the return of Red Raven back here, and of course miscommunications and fights. And he has to fight the Kraken. And all the way in the back, we do get extras, like original artwork here by Big John Buscema, Gene Colan, Mary Severin. And I know with some Mary Severin covers, they had to redraw the face, or I don't know if they had to, but John Romita did redraw some of the faces. And this is Mary Severin illustrated the self-portraited 1974 Marvel artist prints. So there she is right there, with all the characters and Namor. This one here retails for $49.99, and it has 512 pages. Last, but certainly not least, is the Hulk Grand Design. This is the Treasury edition of Hulk Grand Design. And we've seen Treasury editions before. We've had the Black, White, and Blood. They're collected in Treasury editions. As a matter of fact, this will be the next one. This is Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood. And they are bigger than your trade paperbacks. I mean, these are big books. They're taller than Absolute editions. They're taller than Omni. So to kind of give you an idea, this is the dimensions of them compared to the trim size of a comic book, because that's what trades are. So let's open this up. This, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. This gets the near mint condition seal of approval. It is a beautiful book. Absolutely beautiful. In design, oh my gosh, this is one of the most prettiest books. It's up there with Grand Design, X-Men. It's up there with Demon Days, just the way that it's designed. This is very independent comics, so very indie comics. I mean, even all of this, all these little frames that you see from the comic boxes. Even, I love the fact that he captured that up there. This is all because Jim Rugg did all of this. Like, I believe he picks out all this, kind of like Ed Piskor when he was working on X-Men. But he picked out all the pictures that should be back here. It has this neon green color, so it really pops out. When I had this in the background a couple of months ago, people were like, what is that Hulk book? The green one with the eye? That is amazing. This is definitely one that stands out in comic book stores if you're shopping for it locally. Now, I went ahead and gave it the seal of approval. But I'm going to say something else right now that I've already said. Like, sometimes I'll talk about spoilers. This is nothing but spoilers. Because what this is, it tells the story of the Incredible Hulk Bruce Banner in chronological order, leaving out a huge chunk, of course, but with all the spoilers. So if you've never read a Hulk issue, I don't necessarily recommend this as the first Hulk comic, because I don't think it does a lot of the stories justice. I definitely think, holy crap, this is one of the best things if you're a Hulk fan, even if you've read just a couple stories and know where some of the stories went. this is for you. But if you haven't opened up a single Hulk comic, at least my recommendation is, don't do yourself a disservice and buy this first, and because it will spoil some big points in Hulk's life, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. I want people to experience the stories for themselves, and this is a huge love letter that definitely should belong in people's library. But also, kind of like what I said about Grand Design, it's like a Cliff Notes version of Hulk, and even a faster Cliff. It's like a paragraph, really, of the Hulk's life. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the stories in here without going too much into spoilers, of course. But just let's check out this design. First of all, holy crap, that's huge. Holy crap, that is big. That is beautiful. And what that is, it's the reverse version, or maybe this is the mirrored version of the back, where you have, the strong Hulk, or Joe Fix-It Hulk here. And then you have the rampaging Hulk here on the right. It's just gorgeous, and it looks like it's mirror flipped back here. And this is with the colors. You can probably tell the color palettes are going to be the same as previously. I love that he picked out these covers. Like, how do you do that? How do you pick out the best Hulk covers? My gosh, that is gorgeous. In big letters, Jim Rugg. What a milestone, man. That is amazing. What these guys have done, Pisker and Scully and Rugg, my gosh. It's like a fan's dream come true, and we're very blessed to have them, too, in comics. And I know when I did my video of Grand Design X-Men, some people were like, I like the idea, but I'm not a fan of that indie type of artwork. I get it. But to people that love all kinds of artwork, this is a freaking masterpiece. It's so good. All right, so we have a Jack Kirby piece here. This is printed, by the way, in this thick matte paper, so there's no gloss. We have this sweatshirt here from the, or is it a sweater maybe, from the 60s. Here comes the Incredible Hulk. Again, the boxes, including the transformation boxes during this particular era of the Hulk. And then we get written, drawn, colored letter, and designed by Jim Rugg. All created, of course, by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And just different aspects of the Hulk's life early on, of course. We have a variant cover collection already. A Peach Momoko cover here. And an Ed Piskor cover. His take on the Incredible Hulk 340, the Ground Zero cover by Todd McFarlane. Couple of extra pieces. This is really nice. Caught in the nuclear explosion victim of gamma ray radiation gone wild. And that is the story of Hulk. So this is how it begins. He's really siphoning, or rather channeling, that Jack Kirby artwork era. So it's really poppy. It stands out. And he just takes all kinds of liberties with a lot of the details in here. And my gosh, he can change up his style. Now, I don't know if he redrew every single cover, because it looks like some are just copy and pasted, which is great. I mean, it's his design. He can do whatever he wants to. He had a lot of freedom doing this. So he goes from the Hulk's earliest appearances to him in the Avengers issues. So as you can see, that was just 3 or 4 pages. It moves that quick. And that's what I'm talking about. It goes through here. It goes through Planet Hulk. And I don't want it to spoil anything for anybody. So you can see the beauty of this is, if you've read this stuff, you're going to love this. You're going to admire the change in his style from something simplistic like we saw early on right here to when we get to the Todd McFarlane, Sam Keith era. This, I believe, is the Crossroads era. So you have the Bill Mantlo and the Mike Mignola era. This is nice. Like, there's so much to say about this book. Probably should have done a standalone video on it. But what he does here is he takes letters from the letter pages column, of course, when comic single issues had them. But they're letters by people that would eventually be working on the Hulk, but back when they were fans. That is freaking awesome. So you have people in here like Gary Groff, you have Bill Mantlo, Mary Jo Duffy back there. And that is just so awesome. Ralph Macchio's letter. So these people would eventually go on and write or draw the Hulk. So, believe it or not, this is just 2 issues. So we have Hulk Grand Design. This is the Monster era right here. And that gets us right up to the Crossroads era. And then we have Hulk Grand Design Madness. So the book has 120 pages. So we get a little bit of the John Byrne era in here, and then of course we end up with, yes, right here, the era, my favorite era of the Hulk, Peter David's era of Hulk. So not only do we have Sam Keith, we have Del Keown here. We had a little bit of Todd McFarlane. It's just really cool how somebody can change their style up in just beautiful ways. I believe that, I don't think he redrew this. It looks like he did redraw this right here, but there are some things that doesn't look like it was redrawn that he's just using. Very cool. This is such a huge love letter to the Hulk. And again, reads like a Cliff Notes version of this is what happened here. We don't have any time to waste on this. Sorry, this character died. We got to keep moving. That's why I said maybe read at least a couple of Hulk stories before jumping into something like this. Beautiful oversized artwork. And the pay, I can't believe he threw Liam Sharp's Savage Dragon costume in there, but it's in there. All right, let's look at the back here. So you saw something like this a little bit earlier. These are the covers done in chronological order. And then we have some, what I assume are his favorite covers, ranging from Jack Kirby to Arthur Adams, Tom McFarlane, Big John Buscema. I agree with a lot of these. Some Miller stuff there. Byrne. Oh, the Corbin cover. Nice. That's Banner. Yeah, that miniseries. And then the back of that sweater. That's really nice. I love this right here. Hulk Grand Design is based on 60 years of Hulk comics. Thank you to the artists and writers behind those comics. So, you know, this is a huge love letter. This is somebody that loves comics. And there he is, Jim Rugg. And then other books by Jim Rugg. Acknowledgements there. Editors. And then the back of the book. It's a beautiful book. Absolutely. If you're a Hulk fan, go and buy this. And you know, those Treasury editions don't last very long. Just look at Grand Design and how hard they are to come by. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up. Are you collecting all of the Treasury editions? Are you mainly sticking to the Grand Design books like X-Men Grand Design or Fantastic Four Grand Design? Or do you branch out a little bit? Are you getting the Black, White, and Blood books? Anyway, what type of stories, modern or classic, would you like to see collected in these big Treasury editions or Gallery editions? And if you have any questions, leave them down below, comments down below. That's it for me, everyone. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.